Abraham, known as Avraham in Hebrew, Ibrahim in Arabic, and Abraham in English, stands as a central figure in the religious traditions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. These three monotheistic faiths are collectively known as the Abrahamic religions precisely because of the foundational role he plays in each. Although each tradition portrays Abraham through its unique theological lens, his life and legacy continue to serve as a bridge across faiths, offering shared values of faith, obedience, and commitment to God. Abraham in Judaism. In Judaism, Abraham is revered as the first patriarch and the founding father of the Jewish people. His story is primarily told in the book of Genesis, beginning in chapter 12, where God calls him to leave his homeland of Ur and journey to Canaan, promising that he will become the father of a great nation. Covenant with God. Central to Abraham's role in Judaism is the covenant between him and God. This covenant is a divine promise that Abraham's descendants will inherit the land of Canaan and become a numerous and chosen people. The sign of this covenant is circumcision, a practice still maintained among Jewish males as a physical mark of their identity and relationship with God. Model of faith and obedience. Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son Isaac, known in Hebrew as the Akedah, at God's command is one of the most defining moments in Jewish tradition. Though God ultimately stops him, this event is seen as the ultimate test of faith and serves as a foundational example of trust in divine will. Abraham is also a model of hospitality, righteousness, and justice, qualities deeply revered in Jewish ethics. Patriarchal figure. Abraham is the father of Isaac, who in turn is the father of Jacob, later named Israel. Jacob's 12 sons become the ancestors of the 12 tribes of Israel. Thus, Abraham is not only a spiritual figure but also a genealogical ancestor of the Jewish people. Abraham in Christianity. Christianity builds upon the Jewish portrayal of Abraham but expands his role to encompass spiritual fatherhood for all believers, not just the Jews. His significance is especially emphasized in the New Testament, where he is presented as a key figure in the narrative of salvation and faith. Abraham as a model of faith. In the New Testament, particularly in the writings of Paul the Apostle, Abraham is portrayed as a prototype of Christian faith. In Romans 4, Paul emphasizes that Abraham was justified by faith before the law of Moses or the practice of circumcision, making him a spiritual ancestor to all who believe in God, both Jews and Gentiles. This idea reinforces the concept that salvation is accessible through faith, not merely by adhering to the law. Connection to Jesus. The Gospel of Matthew begins with a genealogy tracing Jesus' lineage back to Abraham, underscoring his fulfillment of Jewish messianic expectations. Jesus is seen as the promised descendant through whom all nations would be blessed, as foretold in Genesis 12 verse 3. This fulfills the promise made to Abraham that through his seed, the entire world would find blessing. Allegorical interpretation. Christian theologians, particularly in early church tradition, often interpreted Abraham's story allegorically. For example, the near sacrifice of Isaac is seen as a foreshadowing of God's sacrifice of his Son, Jesus Christ. This typological reading adds layers of theological meaning to Abraham's narrative, integrating it into the larger Christian story of redemption. Abraham in Islam. In Islam, Ibrahim, is a prophet, a messenger, and one of the most significant figures in Islamic history. His story is mentioned in numerous places throughout the Quran, and he is seen as a Hanif, a monotheist who rejected idolatry and submitted entirely to the will of Allah. Pure monotheism and submission. Abraham is celebrated in Islam for his unwavering monotheism and complete submission. Islam means submission to God. He is seen as the ideal Muslim because he surrendered fully to God's will, even when asked to sacrifice his son. In Islamic tradition, this son is commonly identified as Ismail, although the Quran does not name him directly. Builder of the Kaaba. One of Abraham's most enduring legacies in Islam is his association with the Kaaba in Mecca. Along with his son Ishmael, Abraham is believed to have rebuilt the Kaaba, the sacred sanctuary originally established by Adam. This makes Mecca a spiritual center for Muslims and places Abraham at the heart of Islamic ritual and identity. Father of the Prophets. Abraham is considered the patriarch not only of the Israelites through Isaac but also of the Arabs through Ishmael. The Prophet Muhammad is regarded as a direct descendant of Ishmael, and thus Abraham is also honored as an ancestor of the last and final prophet in Islam. His life is commemorated annually during the Hajj pilgrimage, particularly during the festival of Eid al-Adha, which reenacts his willingness to sacrifice his son. Shared themes and differences. Common ground. Across all three faiths, Abraham is a symbol of faith, obedience, and trust in God. His willingness to leave his homeland, to believe in divine promises, and to act on God's commands are universally admired. Each tradition sees in Abraham a model of the ideal believer. Monotheism, Abraham's rejection of idolatry and devotion to one God is a foundational element in all three religions. Covenant and promise, all traditions recognize God's promises to Abraham, descendants, land, and blessing. Ethical legacy, Abraham's qualities of justice, hospitality, and compassion are universally respected. Theological divergences. Despite these commonalities, there are theological differences. In Judaism, Abraham is primarily the biological and spiritual ancestor of the Jewish nation, with the covenant and land promises central to Jewish identity. In Christianity, Abraham is more a figure of spiritual faith than national lineage. Paul's writings universalize his legacy, focusing on belief rather than descent. In Islam, Abraham is a prophet of Islam and the builder of its holiest site. His obedience and role in establishing monotheism in Arabia are emphasized. Conclusion. Abraham's enduring legacy is one of unity and division. He unites Judaism, Christianity, and Islam through shared roots and revered status, yet the interpretation of his life and promises diverges among the traditions. Nonetheless, his life continues to inspire millions as a symbol of deep faith, unwavering obedience, and a commitment to a higher calling. In a world often divided by religious differences, Abraham remains a powerful reminder of the shared spiritual heritage of the Abrahamic faiths and a figure of potential reconciliation and mutual respect.